Well, does this chat stream thing still work? What is up, everybody? This is Jay, aka MultimediaJay, breaking up the pattern of all kinds of ESO streams lately to just come on here and do a chat stream early in the evening. It's about 6:35 at the Geek House, and I want to talk about something that's been that I've been thinking about a lot lately in the midst of all of the game streaming that's going on. I did just put up a really awesome screenshot of my Dark Sorcerer character from Elder Scrolls Online on Twitter, and some folks may see this and be like, wait, what's he doing this for then? Doesn't he have like a great thumbnail for a gaming stream? Yes, I do, but the gaming stream will be later on. I want to just talk about something incredibly important that I don't want to miss in the midst of some recent events going on with the way YouTubers are, the way Twitch streamers are, and just what I've been encountering even in the offline world with people that just don't handle social media very well. And this will sound familiar to some people who are researching this for the search engine crowd and the after-the-fact crowd. This will sound familiar to some people that want to learn about strategic ambiguity, which is the United States' policy on relations with Taiwan. But I seriously believe that this approach of keeping things vague and leaving things up to the imagination is not just something that applies to international politics, but it also applies to the way people treat each other, the way corporations treat things, as well as just the way you should be as a content creator. So this will go under the multimedia meta and discussions about this sort of thing. And it's not just for the live audience. This will also probably make the rounds, get some after-the-fact views and things along those lines. But I very seriously believe, especially after seeing some loose cannon type folks slip up recently, that quite frankly, not everything that you say, do, or believe needs to be on the internet. I think this is something that people are going to learn as social media continues to evolve. To begin with, we got to talk about, well, we'll get to the examples later. To begin with, though, let's talk about this idea of strategic ambiguity, as you might already know it, with international politics. The United States benefits from China, and the United States benefits from Taiwan. How do you manage the conflict between those two? And the policy has been strategic ambiguity, that official statements from the United States government are going to deliberately maintain some element of ambiguity in order to very carefully handle the delicate situation that damages U.S. interests if it swings in either direction. This is the political side of it, but I really don't think international politics is the only place that this happens. You will also see this happen literally everywhere a person or a corporation or whatever does not spell things out in order to benefit what it is that they're trying to do. Because quite frankly, not all the details need to be made public on every single thing that anybody wants to talk about. Let's take YouTube dislikes, for example. I did the digging to find YouTube officially encouraging people to dislike songs on YouTube Music, as evidence that YouTube is recasting, so to speak, the dislike button as a personal algorithm tuner button, similar to what music services already use. And that's part of the reason why they privated the dislike count on videos, because the dislike count is going to mean even less when you have YouTube out there. Basically, I mean, a lot of people think, and it's left to their imagination, so they think this. A lot of people out there think that dislikes are always this kind of voting system for whether or not a video is good or not. The problem with that is that good is a subjective term. You can think one thing is good, I can think something else is good, and we don't have to agree on that. And it's perfectly normal and human for different human beings to have different tastes and different interests. You don't have to be into the same things that I'm into, and I don't have to be in the same things that you're into. It's just part of people and the inherent differences that people bring to the table. But the dislike button on YouTube isn't just a voting system. As YouTube's own researchers found out, people going around brigading will put dislikes that don't make any sense on every videos that have anything to do with anybody they hate. Take, for example, the White House with President Biden. You'd think the American right wing is usually pro-America, pro-military, pro-nationalism. And yet, before the dislike change rolled out, President Biden attending something in honor of American veterans was disliked all over the place. So, the U.S. president honoring veterans, people who served in the military, literally everything the American right wing likes to support, disliked all over the place. for political reasons. And, well, I'll leave it to them to explain it because I'm not going to try and figure them out. I often find America's Republicans these days to be a caricature of what they were 30 years ago. I mean, what happened to not spending the country into oblivion? Nowadays, we got to, hate science and do all kinds of other stuff that has too much baggage for a lot of level-headed individuals to support. At the very same time, I see the Democrats being accused by liberals, of all people, of not being liberal enough, that the Democratic Party is too much of a big tent. There's too many moderates within the Democratic Party. Well, other than forming a centrist party, which the United States lacks, Canada has one, though, and I definitely would support I would definitely support the creation of a third party that was actually centrist in this country. But short of having that happen, where exactly are these people going to get their representation? How do these people take their place within our democracy? I mean, the way the U.S. is with the two parties is if you're the tiniest bit one way or the other, you fit in with the parties. Doesn't matter, tiniest bit left, go Democrat, tiniest bit right, go Republican. But you have a situation where things getting too extreme with the COVID pandemic and all the other stuff, that it's more turning into a situation where one party is about being level-headed and the other party is about high-strung emotions. So what does this have to do with the whole idea of strategic ambiguity? Well, the idea here is quite simple. Not everything needs to be spelled out and codified and canonized like this. So you can be into your stuff. I can be into my stuff. It's all part of who we are as human beings. Now, here's the situation, though, and let's talk about some of the examples of this. But anyways, yeah, so delicate situations require delicate measures in order to not be, if there's damage in either direction, in order to handle a situation as best you can, despite it being a difficult situation, you will keep things strategically vague on purpose. So this is most known in U.S. politics regarding Taiwan and China relations with the U.S. But let's talk about, I was talking about the dislike button is a great example of this. So people think the dislike button is this voting system. It's not always a voting system. YouTube has we know that people may just have angry opinions of something, so Facebook's responses like the anger button would be more appropriate than the dislike button if there's something that a lot of people are getting angry at or a lot of people are laughing at. So dislike is kind of outdated thanks to Facebook and their reactions. LinkedIn has them too, by the way, just different faces. But here's the thing with the dislike button. The dislike button has been left deliberately vague by YouTube, even though YouTube went and officially encouraged people to dislike videos. You can dig for the tweets yourself. And so this destroys the idea of it being a voting system, because if I'm a musician or this spreads beyond music services and people are using dislike to tune personal recommendations, it doesn't necessarily mean that my content is bad. It means that the people that the algorithm has shown it to so far don't like it. That's it. There's no personal insult in there. It's just other people's personal preferences. And it means even more for me if I'm a musician and a lot of people are like, no, this isn't my style. Algorithm, please do not show me this again. And that they don't really want to insult me or anything. It's just that the algorithm fed them the wrong music. So I take personally something that was just a systemic issue in that case. So people are like, oh, I'm disliking the song, so I never hear it again. Okay, maybe the algorithm screwed up and mismatched my music to somebody who would never enjoy it. See what I mean? It's all cerebral stuff. So I imagine people that are all knee-jerky and stuff aren't really going to care about it. The thing is, though, YouTube has come out and said why they made the change. Oh, it's to support creator mental health, blah, 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 blah. But why are they not telling the whole story that their own customer service representatives are going out and telling people deliberately to dislike stuff in YouTube music? I have the Twitter thread saved. I have the query. We can just look at it anytime we want if there's more of it. You can probably query for some other search terms, too, because Twitter is very, very evergreen. Stuff stays on Twitter for a very long time. Unless the owner takes it down. By design, deleting tweets just brings you more ridicule, because now you look like someone who had to pull back what they said, run, hide, blah, blah, blah. Ha ha, the other side won, blah, blah, blah. Drinks at the ready. But the point is, with the dislike button as a great example of this, YouTube has deliberately not told the whole story, for whatever reason, about what they consider the dislike button to be. You have to piece it together yourself by finding these tweets of people telling YouTubers or people using YouTube to use the dislike button as an algorithm button to tune their recommendations. It's in the video about the change to the announcements, but it's an en passant, very quick couple-second reference that isn't really focused on in terms of the way that the presentation was delivered in that Matt Koval video or whatever it was that everybody hated. So a lot of people hate it anyways, or assuming they're people and not bots, because, I mean, in this day and age where you can say the right keyword on Twitter and get a bunch of bots instantly tweeting you back about something because Twitter has a bot problem. You know, the internet has turned into a giant Turing test. And if you don't have a tech background, you're not going to have any idea what that means. You're going to take some robot or whatever too seriously and not even know it's a robot. So yeah, the dislike button on YouTube is a great example in recent history of exactly why a great situation where YouTube doesn't tell the whole story. They may have a reason for doing so, but I don't know why they don't come out and say that they're doing this, especially when you can find out for yourself that they are. But for the most part, use of the dislike button on YouTube has been left to people's imaginations. So people concoct stuff in their heads about the dislike button, and that's what's considered gospel truth, even though YouTube doesn't come out and say themselves that it's a downvoting system or a system for controlling quality or anything of that sort. Where do you see YouTube saying that? You see other people saying it, but do you see YouTube saying that? See what I mean? The dislike button is one of many, many examples of strategic ambiguity, this time from a corporation. What you think the dislike button is, they don't care. It's not essential that they correct you on what the dislike button is. Just make announcements about it. So it's bizarre, but think about it this way. How much more outrage would the dislike change have generated for YouTube if they had come out and said, yeah, this is not an algorithm thing? And then they'd be held to it, of course, if they said, this is not a voting system. This is just a way to tune your personal recommendations. They said it a little bit in the video. Imagine if the whole focus of the video was, look, the dislike button is not what you think it is, and we're here to correct you on it. There'd be even more rage on the internet if that was the case. But there you go. See what I mean? That's probably, that might be, this is all speculation, but that might be why they left it vague on purpose. So that way, they knew that the decision would be unpopular. They don't want to make it even worse by making some kind of video telling you, you may think the dislike button is this, but it's really that. See what I mean? Strategic ambiguity. Not every opinion or whatever needs to be canon on the internet. Let's talk about some of the other examples of why I'm here to talk about all of this. We talked about the U.S. policy on Taiwan. We talked about YouTube's use of the dislike button and deliberately keeping things vague, apparently, as this change is rolled out and generated the negative response that it has generated. Pokimane, of all people, had an incident like this. I forgot when it was. I can't even remember if I saw it when I watched part of her stream or if it was one of the clip things that goes around YouTube afterwards. Pokimane let slip that she does this too. Of course, I would expect no less from somebody who acts like the kinds of manipulative sharks that I know of in corporate America with, manipulating others and things along those lines. She reminds me too much of someone who's corporate, even though she's a streamer. So that's one of the reasons why I don't watch her stuff a lot, because I don't want to be reminded of work or the crap I've dealt with from corporate folks who do this crap. But someone donoed her and said something, blah, 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 about her that they thought. And she was like, well, if that's what you think, and just left it at that. Didn't say yay or nay, just bounced it back to the person. And isn't that how it goes with personalities sometimes? Whether on stream, on the radio, or anything along those lines, there's a lot of leeway left for you to concoct this image of somebody in your head. And this is another thing, too, going back to that quote by President Obama about why people hate other people. They often don't hate the person. They hate this image of that person that they've concocted in their mind. And some people take advantage of that by doing smear campaigns to get other people to think the same way, too, even if it's not correct. It's part of the reason why controlling narratives is so important with this kind of stuff. But this person sent her a dono. They sent Pokimane a dono, threw money at what she's doing, And she's like, okay, if that's what you think. Just left it at that. Didn't say yes, didn't say no, deliberately kept it vague. Imagine if she'd corrected the person. Now, not only would that have been an issue with the person who donoed, it would have been an issue with literally anybody who thought like that person. So you're talking about somebody who's trying to maintain as large of an audience as possible. They don't want to sabotage that by flying too many flags. So that's the streamer version of strategic ambiguity. In video games, if you've ever played an MMO or other game where details are left, major details about a character you create are left out, and the story is vaguely written on purpose to let you imagine how your character handles the situation exactly, that's a great example of that. Take Elder Scrolls Online, for example. Your character is known as the Vestige. In Morrowind, you're known as the Nerevarine. In Oblivion, you eventually become known as the hero of the Oblivion Crisis or whatnot. And there's like next to no details other than some title. Not even, what your character was, like Breton Imperial or whatever it was. You are left vague on purpose. That way, everybody who played every single kind of character in those previous games can fit into the lore. Whether they were an Argonian assassin or a Breton noble or an Imperial traitor, Trader, someone who tried to make a lot of money during the heydays of the Empire, not like someone who betrayed the Emperor, although there could be that too. See what I mean? And then, so yeah, I mean, stuff's left up to the imagination because not everything has to be drawn out. There's a local incident too, where somebody who's a supervisor in one of the 9-to-5ers' buildings made the company look bad on public social media by starting big anti-vaxxer arguments with flying the flag that they worked for the company, not realizing that that is something that shapes the way people view the company as a place to work, and it could drive away people that at a time when places are having a hard time staffing up. Should have left that off the table. It's that simple. And lastly, there's an incident involving Tyranny, one of the ESO streamers that I've become familiar with Elder Scrolls Online. The chat in one of Indalia's recent streams somehow wandered over to talking about COVID and the vaccines, and she was like, natural immunity rules. And that was a loose cannon moment, because that made her look like an anti-vaxxer. Whether she is or not, she needs to clarify, but that made her look like, the people that are pushing for infection immunity over getting vaccinated, you pretty much know who they are if you follow this stuff. She made herself look like she's in that crowd. Whether or not she does anything to fix that, that's her problem, but I can tell you it's going to have consequences. Myself and folks who think like myself, we're going to be doing things differently because of that. Those of us who know about this incident. I can tell you right now, the Twitch Prime that I sent her away last month is not going to her this month, and I'm not taking part in anything in her forums, or in her Discord. Might end up leaving the Discord and things like that. But this is just a classic don't be a loose cannon slip-up. And the reason why it's a slip-up is because one of the things you got to realize when you're dealing with people is you don't know who you're sitting next to. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who's on the other side of the computer screen. And so you can be fast and loose with trying to get people hyped up or whatever, trying to look bombastic without realizing that maybe the person that you're talking to that you might have had some respect for because you liked my screenshots or whatever, because I'm really good with Picassoing up ESO screenshots, including the one I finished before going live for this discussion. Oh, whoops, I'm a tech nerd. I like technology. mRNA is a form of technology. And I don't like how it's getting slandered so much by people with nothing better to do that just sit on their ass and start stuff on the internet. It's particularly tiring in blue states like Connecticut, where we're highly vaccinated, and the people that are crying about COVID vaccines on local social media, are just parking their ass and freeloading off of other people's decision to get their shots and their boosters. In a sense, these people locally that are crying about this on the internet would have more credibility if they moved to a red state, because then you couldn't make the argument that they're flying high off of other people getting vaccinated to try and slow the spread of this thing. It's one thing when you hate the COVID vaccines in a red state where there's a lot of people who think like you and whatever happens, happens. It's another thing when you're surrounded by, in a state with some of the most even vaccine coverage in the country, in all but 2 counties is a very high amount. But, there's two outlier counties in the Northeast. But for the most part, Connecticut is extremely highly vaccinated and everything's very, very spread around. Even New York, you look at the coverage maps for New York, and it's very different based on counties, urban areas, etc. Even Massachusetts has something similar going on. So, but that's the thing. If you are in a state like Connecticut and you're crying about this stuff, you're surrounded by all kinds of people who've gotten vaccinated. It gives you have less credibility sitting there crying while parked on your ass benefiting from other people trying to get vaccinated against this thing than you would in like a red state where there's less shots going around. So, because you have, it's one of those things where, are you walking the walk instead of just talking the talk, or are you just sitting there enjoying your little place of privilege? It's like the slacktivism I deal with from some of these angry Twitch streamers who are like, yeah, this political cause is something I really want people to get in behind. And then they sit there playing League of Legends all night. Yeah, I'll take donos for it, but I'm not. Yeah, and then they never actually, you never see them doing anything except sitting down playing League of Legends. They don't even have enough subs to make it as a full-time streamer. So they're part-time, but they're just sitting there playing video games instead of doing something about the stuff they allegedly care about. And that's one reason why I backed off on my Twitch involvement. I don't want to be lumped in with people like that who are small streamers that barely grow at all because they have emotional problems or they just don't think about what it is that they're doing and how they come across to others. But either way. So, yes. You always got to be careful what you say to people because you don't know who you're speaking to. In my case, I'm always pro-technology. mRNA is a form of technology. The more I've learned about the development of this technology over the past several decades, the more I'm like, this was amazing that it happened when it did. We'd be in a lot worse shape as a civilization if it didn't. And let's also not forget my own family being very, very split to the point where there's people, I have relatives that I don't speak to now because of this crap. And then there's the ones that are trying to blow me off, but be like, oh no, cousin, I still love you no matter what. But really, they don't believe that. But really, they're on the other side. They don't care. And the only time they'll say anything like that is if I bring it up. They don't take any initiative to in any way act like what they're talking about. So it's all fake, anyways. So yeah, I got a family that won't speak to each other. I got step relatives I'll have nothing to do with because of this nonsense. And I lost a cousin to this 2 months ago. Or, excuse me, November, October, for about 3 months ago. I lost a cousin to this crap. And you know what? If he hadn't moved to the South, I think he would still be alive. The reason he moved to the South, he met this girl and they wanted to go out with her. And they got married. And she was incredibly angry and threatened to divorce him if he disagreed with her on something. And I saw it all on Facebook. And I was like, oh boy, what has my cousin gotten himself into? And then, oh yeah, Trump 2020. Oh, everybody hates the vaccine now. So yeah. Unvaccinated with medical conditions, middle-aged, gets it, spends the last month of his life hooked up to machines, passes away at the tender age of 41. I don't care if that was rough. I can't emphasize that enough. There are people in my family that are like, this is terrible. He died with a life half lived at age 41 because of this thing. Not vaccinated. Oh, Jay, why are you so passionate about this? I don't know. Is losing family members who otherwise were cool people, that, who are cool, mellow people, not reason enough to take a stand on this crap? I'm sorry. Is losing loved ones something that doesn't count for stuff like it used to? Am I getting that old? So yeah, be careful what you rattle on about because you don't know who is listening. And so, and let me just tell you one more thing. His widow, found out recently, still an anti-vaxxer, still angry all the time, still won't get vaccinated. After watching the supposed love of your life die of this thing, you still won't get any shots. She blocked me a long time ago, which should come as a surprise to nobody. Not that I'd want anything to do with somebody like that anyways, but it's just like... So yeah, I believe I have quite a few things to say about, the crap that these con artists that are scamming people into destroying their health has to say. And okay, Jay, well, how does that apply to you? Why are you flying the flag of this and possibly limiting the size of your audience? Because this goes back to the demographics thing. This goes back to the demographics thing that I've talked about before, where you want to decide who you want in your audience. Do you want the biggest audience possible? That's not always the best thing, by the way. Or do you actually want a fan base full of people that actually like you and support you and want to be involved with the stuff that you're involved with and want to watch your videos and streams and, recommend what you do to others? Or do you just want whoever, because, I've seen more content creators struggle with toxic audiences because they wanted the biggest audience possible and got it. And it included people that hated them. I've seen a lot of that. Some of it pretty recently. So here's the thing. I associate that nonsense. I associate anti-vaxxer nonsense with COVID stuff. I associate that with people that are emotionally unhinged. People that don't think about what they're saying, just repeat what somebody else says, and are responsible for creating a culture that led to the death of one of my cousins. And another cousin had it multiple times. So much for natural immunity. Reinfected when the new variant came out before the vaccine was the thing. She had the original version, and then she had UK, I think. Not survived it, barely. Couldn't work for several months in 2020. So, knowing that this thing can do that serious damage, why wouldn't I take the side of fighting this thing instead of caving to it and making excuses for it? So, is this a flag I want to fly? Absolutely. I'm a tech guy. I should be into STEM stuff. Part of STEM is science. If you don't like that, why are you here? Why are you watching this? Click away. Get out of my stream, stop watching it after the fact. If you don't like that stuff, you've come to the wrong place. And I'm telling you this now for your own good, so you're not made miserable by somebody who clearly doesn't believe the same stuff that you do, so you can just get on with your life. There's plenty to watch on YouTube. You don't have to sit there complaining because you clicked on a video and didn't like it. There's probably plenty of stuff in the recommendations to click on over to that'll make you happier. I don't think life is worth making yourself miserable on purpose. Now, just trying to fabricate things to be miserable about. Because there's plenty of things wrong in this world. You'll definitely succeed if that's your attitude. But yeah, why would I fly this flag then? Why exactly would I fly this flag? When I'm saying what I'm saying about strategic ambiguity and content creation. Because you got to realize any opinion that you give on the internet is evergreen, and it's canon, and you're associated with it. So you don't need to do reactions to absolutely everything. You don't need to give your opinions to absolutely everything, because everything you give an opinion to, no matter how serious you actually are, is going to be taken seriously. So let's look at the Swiss Reformation that brought us Calvinism. There's a thing that developed among their circles, that a philosophical statement. It was originally religious, but I think it has a very good secular application. In essentials, unity. In non-essentials, liberty. In all things, charity. In other words, you want to agree on things you consider essential. You want to let people be people on stuff that you consider to be non-essential. And you want to, be a decent person no matter what. So when you give an opinion on something as part of what it is that you do, regardless of how fired up somebody might be trying to get you to support some political or some other cause or some charity or whatever, you got to ask yourself, is this important enough that I want this to be something I'm associated with permanently? Am I passionate enough about this to want to always be flying this flag and be associated with people who are flying this flag? Do I always want to be associated with that? There have been some pretty obscure things that I've done videos about over the years, usually vlogs. Many of them were taken down off of YouTube. I took them down because they were just dumb. It was dumb to have a channel called MultimediaJay and then have a video about that. I went through this phase myself as a content creator who was less experienced. There was a time when I believed that I could make video. Well, that's the way YouTube operates. You can make videos about literally anything, and the world is a big enough place that it will get views. YouTube just has to work on the algorithms to do better matchmaking for people that are looking for things to watch. But the concept is perfectly sound. The world is a huge place with lots of people with lots of different interests. You can make YouTube channels about the most random, way off in the corner interests in the world, and people will find it and watch it. Something I had to tell my dad when I made the washer video 5 years ago, or actually closer to 7. What is it? 2015? Six and change, heading towards 7. So I sent the video from the man, whatever his name was, that inspired me to make first impressions of my Magic Chef washer all those years ago. My dad was like, a 34-minute, whatever it was, video about a washing machine? Lol. And I'm like, Dad, it's YouTube. People will watch anything. That's the nature of the beast here. And I'm not talking about Mr. Beast. It's the nature of YouTube. People will watch the most random stuff. It has the same problems as playing It has the same problems as a Civilization game. You know, the just one more turn problem that Civ games have, and suddenly it's 5 in the morning and you got to get up for work in 2 hours. But yeah, that's YouTube. It's just like, just one more video, just one more video, just one more video. Oh, look, the sun is coming up. Why am I watching this random stuff on YouTube when I could have been sleeping all this time? Or if you're night shift, just reverse everything. So, you can have that, but the truth of the matter is, do you want that to be part of what it is that you are about? And the answer, I'm sure, for a lot of things you may make it was for me. The answer for a lot of, these opinion videos you can make like that is probably no. I could go digging through. There was one thing, there was a vlog thing I did many years ago called Heuristics, the Enemy of Knowledge, about not taking mental shortcuts when thinking about stuff. What does that have to do with MultimediaJay? It's like, then again, what does even this discussion have to, presentations. I'm talking about content creation here, so that's part of the multimedia umbrella these days. But yeah, so see what I mean? It's just, so if I had that video, and you know how YouTube is with the algorithms, you'll suddenly find out that a video you made like 5 years ago is getting all kinds of views. Like, why is this video getting views? It was 5 years ago. People are finding this video and they think I'm like that now when it was me 5 years ago, and I've gotten way better at videos, lighting, things like that. So, and I get this too, like some of the vlogs I made in 2016 talking about like Blu-ray and stuff like that. People think, oh, look, he still looks weird sitting indoors with sunglasses on. Well, now I've changed the lighting. So it's not exactly what people would call normie stuff anyways nowadays. But if you, for example, find my observance of Future Day from 2015, when Back to the Future Day happened on October 21st, stuff like that, it looks bizarre. Plus, it was at my last place before the Geek House. I mean, it's in no way is that really relevant anymore in terms of what I'm doing here, except for I did it. So I observed it. I took the day off from work, and a supervisor was like, hey, isn't that Back to the Future Day? So one person figured it out. Busted. But it's just so, that's the thing here is you got to ask yourself, with everything you opine on, are you passionate enough about it that you want to be permanently associated with this? Or is it a passionate enough thing that you don't care if you fly a flag and lose people because of it? Because people who disagree with you, they now have reasons to not support you, not watch you, get lost. And is that even relevant if it's not something you're passionate about outside of that one video? That's the important thing. Is it even relevant if outside of that one video, it doesn't matter? Okay, so I'm playing Elder Scrolls Online. I'm tinkering with computers. I'm working with smart lighting and all kinds of other multimedia nerd stuff. And I'm talking about content creation. Do I need to give an opinion on, example, what breed of cat I like the most, even though I like cats? It's like, I don't really think about it very much. I mean, I think, Persian cats are pretty fluffy. I think calicos are some of the friendliest cats I've ever known. Many of the friendliest, snuggliest cats I've ever known who always run up to you and want you to pet them. And, you know, they'll fall asleep. They'll jump on your shoulder and fall asleep or whatever. No, that's a parrot I'm thinking of. No, I don't know. Anyways, many of the nicest cats I've known have been calicos. And then some of the floofiest cats I've known have been Persians. So have been Persian cats. But I don't really follow. There, many people have had friendly tabbies that have chased a ball of yarn. You know, they've all been cute in their own little way, but I really don't think about that all that much. So if I'm going around like everybody should have a calico cat, then people are going to think I'm like that. And then people that don't like calico cats, oh, you cruel people out there, they're going to be like, I'm not watching this guy's tech videos. I'm not watching this guy's stream. I'm not watching anything this guy does. And it's just the way people are. It's just... And they'll miss out on all the tech experiments, all the fiddling around in ESO, and all the discussions like this, simply because of something that only mattered in one single video. But that's people, and that's YouTube, because the algorithms will pass things around. Like 5 years later, a video I'd grown at, people take that as like their first impression of my channel. And I'm like, why isn't YouTube promoting my newer stuff that would be more relevant to the matter? It's like, yay. So we've given a couple of hot button examples of why, you know, it's important to know what you stand for and stay focused on the scope of what your channel's about. Because really, I mean, look at the people that are jumping on every bandwagon cause that comes along. Here's what happens every single time. Every single time the latest bandwagon, everybody's tweeting this on Twitter, so you have to too, or you're an insensitive clod that doesn't care. Every single time one of those issues comes up, there's people that are going to support it or people that are going to oppose it. There's going to be, you're talking, let's say there's people that don't care. So you have support, oppose, don't care. If you get involved in that crap when it's irrelevant to what it is that you do, you lose two of those three groups. The people that don't care, the people that disagree with you. At least one of those groups will outright oppose you and they're gone. Now, is that relevant to what it is you're doing with your videos and streams? If it isn't, then you lost them for nothing. So, then you lost that for nothing. And the people that don't care, they find out you do care and they're like, I don't want to hear this drama. They're gone too. Congratulations. You just tanked your own audience. So, and this is a lesson that I've had to spend over 10 years finding out through hard experience. So I'm hoping that having this discussion streamlines that for some people out there. You don't need to get mad at every single thing that gets popular on Twitter, and it's better for you if you don't look two-faced like that. You don't have to opine on absolutely everything. You don't have to make vlogs or reaction videos about absolutely everything under the sun. You need to decide, what am I about? Stick to it. Because that's what people are looking for. And it's what it makes it simpler on the algorithms too. So, yeah. You don't need to have an opinion on absolutely everything under the sun. The number one lesson from vlogging about all kinds of crap on YouTube and then going around and deleting it later. So, hopefully there's a bit more focus on multimedia technology presentations and this type of stuff on this channel now than there was 5-10 years ago. That's really what I'm hoping. Otherwise, I got more work to do because that's the nature of the way things work nowadays. So what are we going to do? We're going to do some ESO and some stuff later tonight. Got to make use of that screenshot, 7:13 at the Geek House. And we shall, now let's let this process and let it become available to the folks to watch after the fact. But yeah, strategic ambiguity, big part of content creation. You don't want to spell things out for your entire audience if it's not something you want to be known for. So, because every time you do that, you're flying a flag and you're taking a side and you're going to lose people in the process. And if it's not the most important thing in the world for you to lose those people because of that hot button issue and whatnot, then it doesn't need to be part of your channel. Oh, but wait, that sounds like you're dishonest and you're trying to hide something. If that's the case, the world is dishonest. Everybody you see out there hides something from you. All of them. Every single person, even the people you think are your friends, even the people you think are your best friends, they may have something that you don't know. Maybe probably something embarrassing or something, but that's just the way people are to each other. Let me give you an example, a very high-profile example from television. Bob Barker, hosted The Price is Right for decades, I believe. I certainly grew up with, daytime TV, the sitters watch Bob, little old ladies who watched me when I was growing up watch Bob. Like, oh yeah, Price is Right, woohoo! Yeah, so, and then at the end of show after show after show, please control the help control the pet population. Have your pets spayed or neutered. It's a meme, but it's something that Bob believed in. It's something that it wasn't the main focus of the show, but hey, by watching The Price is Right, you would have started associating him with that. And it became a thing in the show because of Bob's involvement, besides the studio getting named after him. I don't know, does Drew Carey still do that? It's been a long time. I know I can watch The Price is Right on streaming services nowadays, or actually on the page of the rights holder's page, so I can go see if he does that anytime I want. I'm just occupied with lots of other things, especially being night shift. It feels weird watching The Price is Right at night because it's a middle of the day show. I've just grown up associating with that, so here I am in the dark watching The Price is Right from like 12 hours ago. It's just not the same, man. Makes one of the things I miss about being day shift. But in all things, though, it's just the thing that Bob Barker believed in that kind of thing, and it's kind of a meme, but it's part of the whole package and whatnot. So he believed in it enough that now not only was he associated with it, but assuming Drew Carey kept the tradition going, the show's kind of associated with that. So it's the sort of thing you got to decide, what do you want to be associated with? Because it's going to have consequences on evergreen platforms. Twitter, by the way, is an evergreen platform. Your videos and stuff like that, your videos and whatnot are one thing, but your tweets are another. Remember, Twitter is incredibly searchable. All someone has to do is know the right keywords, and they don't have to make assumptions about you based on what you are saying. They can make assumptions about you based on what someone else is saying, and who sounds off about stuff on Twitter? Negative people. Negative people. So if you have some hater out there that's tweeting all kinds of nasty stuff about you, it's very easy to find, for you to find, but it's also very easy for the public to find because of the way Twitter works. Yeah, everybody's trying to hide something from you. I can tell you that much. Everybody picks and chooses what they want to share with you, whether they want to admit it or not. You can have a best friend and whatnot. You can have a best friend and whatnot, and they have some secret obsession that they never tell you about because they're too embarrassed to, and you find out about it, and it's weird. But it's just people being people to each other. You got to decide what it is that you are about with these kinds of things, and then stick to that, essentially. Because the more flags you fly, the more you're going to have an impact in terms of who watches and who can watch and stuff along those lines. So yeah, you don't need to have an opinion about everything on the planet. You don't have to chime in on everything. You don't have to make videos about everything. You don't have to stream about everything. You just have to be yourself, or whatever the heck it is that you want to be. Whether you're acting a character, hamming yourself up to be a personality, or just being your boring old self. But no, there are things in this world that are need to know, and not everybody needs to know. And it's not weird if you act that way or conduct yourself that way, because everybody's doing it, whether they want to admit it or not. Till next time, this is MultimediaJay signing off. Thanks for stopping by.